Microphone check 212. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite, the world's favorite bearded man. Put some respect on my name, Bobby. Today in the building, we have my man, Robbie Page.
What's going on, Bobby? Thanks for having me, man.
Dude,
really happy to be here.
Bro, how we doing?
Doing amazing.
Yeah?
You know, all things considered, life is good.
Given like COVID and just everything that's kind of being thrown around in the world, you feel like mentally, physically, everything's good?
Yeah, I'm at my best right now. You know, it's been a cool, really good time. Just get back to the roots, get back to ground level, and just, start building that foundation again. And yeah, just overall stoked to be alive, stoked to be here, stoked to be sitting in your house, man. Record a little pod.
Content Crib 2.0, baby.
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. So all good things.
Did you have a nice refresh being back in New York? I know you were back there for probably a minute.
Yeah.
It seems like what was like a month or something?
Yeah, exactly. I was home for almost 4 weeks. It was a super good time to be with the family, hang out, see my grandma, just really connect with my siblings and my parents, and couple cool trips. It was nice because everyone's remote, so I was like, why not go be actually remote and work from home?
I know. I think that's probably the biggest upside that I'm seeing right now for the people that are fortunate enough to work from home is they're taking advantage of being able to travel and still get their work done. Like I was back in Massachusetts for a week, 10 days in July, and because of like being able to work remote, I just communicated with my manager. I'm gonna work East Coast time. So I worked regular business hours from 9 to 6. Long term, it wouldn't be the most efficient way to get things done. But for like a 10-day thing, we touch base when we need to. And other than that, it was just like get your shit done. And obviously for somebody like you, you're co-founder of a company. And as long as things are running smoothly and you're getting your end done, I mean,
yeah, honestly,
you could be anywhere in the world with it.
That's the coolest spot. And I think a lot of people are on the same wavelength where it's much more on you, to get your stuff done. And like, what do you need to do to be successful? And then, even more than before, there's no pressure. You can create your own schedule, create your own time, do it on your own,
Dude,
what you need to do.
I would imagine too, now I could be completely wrong, but for me personally, and I'd love to hear your take on this, I've been so much more efficient because I'm working from home, because I don't have side distractions. I love people. I love community. I love being inside an office because I can see everything that's happening at a big scale, even the areas that I'm not necessarily touching. Right. I hear somebody talking about like, whoa, we're working with who? We're doing this, we're doing that. What's coming in 6 months? I love and I miss being in the actual office because I'm seeing everything at a high level, even though I might not be touching it. But I feel like I am so much more efficient because I live with two of my roommates, which we communicate. Obviously, we talk about what's going on within our business lives, and we shoot the shit here and there. But there's so much less distractions that I feel like I'm getting so much more done, and I'm able to actually focus in on whatever my task might be for the day. Do you feel like that's been productivity wise?
I think you hit the nail on the head there too. It's a balance between when you're in an office, and I want to hear more about, the whole Liquid IV office and stuff, because that seems like a complete dream. That squad you guys have is something special, that is something special.
Crazy.
And to have just, when you're working from home, you miss that energy. You miss like the drive and that kind of camaraderie of a team all working together. So you have to really kind of work hard to have those extra meetings and really over communicate and, how to have more of a schedule of communication. Whereas when you're in an office, as you walk by someone, you're like, oh, this thing just dropped. Check this out, check this out. So I think it goes both ways. We have a small team still, so it's much easier for us to do that. But like, how has it been for you guys, Liquid IV? You have a bigger squad, and I can see that being harder to be really remote.
Yeah, so it's been extremely interesting where as soon as we went remote, we were doing weekly all staffs for an hour, which I think we did that for like 5 or 6 weeks consistently for 1 hour a week. And then I think it was just getting harder for especially top level, people like Brandon or our COO or, VP of sales or marketing. It gets harder for them because now on top of everything else they're already dealing with, now they have to worry about running the show for a 1 hour meeting per week. And now, so outside looking in, somebody might say, well, it's only an hour. Like, come on, who can't do that? Well, most of COVID, we were 30 employees, which really is a solid size of a team. Like 30 people deep it's hard to like in 1 hour get to touch base with everyone, or at least give everyone a chance to speak. And most times not everybody was speaking. But I think, we did that for like the first like 6 to 8 weeks. It was 1 hour weekly all staffs. And then it kind of shifted and then it became once a month. And so the hardest thing has been, I'm not seeing or touching. I'm not seeing or communicating with the people that I don't necessarily need to communicate with.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's efficiency, and it's like, I have things on my plate that I need to get done. And so it's kind of hard to like go out of your way. Like, I've done my fair share with like hitting up people on G-Chat, just like checking in with them. Or if I need to hit them up about something that I need, like first, like going the extra mile, like, hey, how are you? Like, what's going on? How was your weekend? And then diving in for like what I need for. So kind of being aware of like, some people are struggling. Some people are feeling lonely. Some people are going through some other shit in their life and trying to just like be a human being before I ask for what I need. So it's been an interesting balance. And then most recently, in probably the last 6 to 8 weeks, I think we've hired, probably close to 10 employees and still growing. So
yeah, that's amazing.
Q2, we completely stopped hiring. And then now it's like,
let's go again.
It's going crazy.
Things
And every
are
time we get on
happening.
an all staff, I'm like seeing faces for the first time. Like, who are you? Like,
yeah, wait,
you're doing
welcome.
what?
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Joining the squad.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting too. When we first dropped into COVID, we were like, all right, all hands on deck every morning, 9 a.m.
Wow.
And that was a cool process for a while. And we
Yeah.
all kind of were like, motivated and moving. But it's interesting too in like what you're reporting to what person. Like, do they really need to know this? And like, and then as soon as you start breaking high level stuff, there's a lot of questions that come up. It's like, does the marketing team need to know about the early quality program testing of an ops program? It's like, well, but the marketing team needs to know when a product's going to launch, but doesn't need to know all the rest. So I think that like that balance too of like, how much information do you communicate and how is it delivered? It's like, it's hard, especially when you're so far away. I haven't even seen one of our teammates since COVID started. She's just been locked down and, doing her thing and on the phone talking every day, but haven't given her a hug or said what up in like 7 months.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's so weird.
What a time.
The communication wise, but I mean, thankful for, applications like Zoom or FaceTime when you're able to like hop on and actually see people for, their face. There was one specific person that I wanted to give a shout out. He told me to tell you, he said hello, and he was asking about you, which is Daly, our director of ecom.
Amazing. So what a good guy.
I didn't want to say that before we started the podcast because I wanted to make sure I documented that Daly. I did tell him you said hello.
Yes. What up, Daly?
So Daly said hello, and I don't know if he'll ever hear this, but at least I have it documented. So
Yes.
I have some history of like, yo, I told him you said what up. I told him you said what up. But
Volleyball fam.
Yeah, man, crazy times. So we did that first podcast. I know you mentioned that right before we started this podcast, and I was like, no. Fire up the mics, Dan, let's talk. June of 2018.
Wow.
That's when it was released.
Get
so
outta
it
here.
potentially
2
could it probably
years
was
ago.
Yeah, it was potentially filmed earlier in that month or potentially at the end of May.
Look how far we've come.
2 years, bro.
Insane.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest things? And I've been asking the same question for like the last couple guests because what I've been doing is reaching back out to guests that I had in like 2018. 2 years has passed. A lot changes in that time, and I find myself asking the same questions. Some of the same questions, but they are great questions because every answer tends to be different. But what are some of the biggest things that you think have changed about you within that time frame? 2 years.
Yeah, that's a great question. I honestly wish I would have done my homework and listened to that episode before I came. I would have a much better answer. But I remember some of that conversation, and I think at that point in time, we were just full speed ahead, hustling, building from the ground, just, trying to get our foot in the door to even have a legitimate cause and a legitimate purpose in business and providing value to people. And since then, a lot's changed. Like we're much more solidified now. We're much more like sustainable and comfortable. Back then it was kind of like, you're raising money to last for 2 months and just full sprint, just like sleepless nights, just like solving these terrible problems, like figuring out how to move forward and how to attack new markets. And, we made a lot of mistakes in 2018. Looking back, I think it'd be really funny just to think and listen to that and be like, wow, you thought you were doing so good, like you thought you had everything figured out. In reality, it was just like kind of the opposite, and I think especially in the last year, I've for sure grown up a ton, and just a level of maturity in communicating with people, just decision making, like slow, controlled, methodical decisions. And we've gone to the point now where we know what moves a needle for our business. And I also feel like in the last 2 years, I know what I need to be successful in terms of like personal care, nutrition, like health. Like I've developed a really strong meditation practice, which helped a lot, just like maintaining emotion and, you know, just being able to control how I'm like addressing people and getting what I need to say out into the world. So, I mean, I'm 28 now and I must have been 26 then, you know.
Yeah.
That was,
I'm 26 right now, so you're
dude,
like
yeah.
the younger version sitting across from me, brother.
Oh man. Yeah. I think, that's crazy. It's been 2 years. I can honestly not believe that almost.
Yeah. You know what's weird is a couple weeks ago, and I don't remember the moment, but for some reason, I don't know if I saw something you posted on social media, or you popped in my mind, and I thought, this was randomly. This is before I even started getting this podcast rolling again and even hit you up about doing this tonight. But I weirdly had a moment when I thought about, I remember Robbie was telling me on the first podcast that we did that when he was jumpstarting Tenzo, these guys were out hustling this product at coffee shops, and how difficult and probably impossible that would have been if you were starting Tenzo, if you guys are starting Tenzo right now.
So true.
There's no way you guys would have done that same tactic. I mean, you for sure would have approached it strategically different, but just thinking like, wow, imagine if he was launching this right now, that would not be possible.
That's an extremely good point too. And you just think about, you know, the opportunities that did exist 2 years ago. The entire world has shifted, you know, the entire economy has shifted. Even if you think about college graduates looking for their first job, you know, like it just feel extremely blessed to have gone through the ringer and, you know, survived when we did and gotten to a spot where we're a multi-channel business where we were diversified enough to make it through, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we have a couple of friends companies, that we really partner with along the way in coffee shops in a really tough spot because they're entirely based upon that business. And I mean, our coffee shop business is about like 20-25% of what it once was about a year ago, you know.
Wow.
Just in terms of like the volume and the foot traffic. I was talking to like Rose Cafe example,
Venice, California.
Venice, California, shout out, one of my favorite places in the world. But about 3 or 4 months into COVID, they were doing 10 to 15% of their foot traffic for their business. And imagine, you know, keeping that afloat. It's just a really tough spot to be in. And, you know, that you only do so many like takeaway orders.
Yeah.
So straight up, the answer is like the plan wouldn't have worked. The one that we succeeded on doing and leveraged and grew and, you know, had opportunities to find bigger clients and bigger partners. It's not possible. There's no way.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's insane.
Wow. What have been some of like the biggest challenges that you guys have faced dealing with a pandemic like this? Has there been any big hurdles like within the business that you had to kind of like leap and bound and jump over, or has things kind of steadily continued to move and there hasn't been too much of a scarce or one of those like big setbacks that you guys had to like internally sit down and go, how do we fix this?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, as a manager and as a company owner, I've always tried to be very fluid in our approach, you know, and the worst thing you can do is try to like fit a round peg in a square hole. You know, you're just never going to work. You don't want to run uphill. So that's kind of like, even looking back to 2018, I would say we were trying to run up too many hills and run through too many brick walls. You know, so like, for example, to try to continue building a coffee shop business when all public places are shut down doesn't make any sense, you know, like it's going to be a lot of work for very little gain. So the moment things started closing down in LA, we did a full flip of our company structure. Like we had our chief sales officer, Brody, Macho Man Brody.
Great bearded guy.
Great beard, great guy overall. But he started writing marketing copy for us. So we're like, how can we use Brody's skills? You know, no one, especially when it first dropped, no buyers were even thinking about adding new products. So he was just hey, follow up in 3 or 4 months when everything has become better. We can't think about this right now. We're trying to deal with how to make our company survive. So Brody comes in and starts writing infographics, starts writing marketing website copy, you know, starts writing ad copy and using his sales to like help the company in a different way.
Wow.
And, you know, for us, it was just a full flip. Like, from just to e-commerce and subscription, because we knew that we could still deliver a healthy, amazing product to someone's door. And coffee shops were not really going to be that strong for a long time to come. And we knew we could get it when it comes back, but we just shifted to working on big deals and e-commerce to the moon.
Yeah. Well, I think that mindset of just kind of, you have to just adjust is something that I've learned like pretty aggressively in the last couple of years of things just don't always go according to plan. And so you can spend that time giving you some type of a blueprint, or this is where we think we're going to go. This is how we think we're going to do it. But you have to remain open-minded to, there's a lot of shit that's going to pop up that we never anticipated. When major businesses going into 2020, they never put into their plans, well, when the pandemic hits, we're going to have to adjust. So I think it's really that mindset. And it's not even business owners. It's just general like life, like shit happens. You can't control it. And the faster you adjust to it, the sooner you're going to make progress. And I think that goes back to a lot what you're saying about the meditation. That was one of the best things that I started incorporating in my life about 4 years ago. And I feel like I get a little bit better every single day of doing it. And 4 years strong, I still feel like I'm barely scratching the surface of like what that practice has allowed me to like, how much value and positivity it's brought into my life. But one of the biggest things that I do now is when something hits the fan, or something is not going according to plan, or my emotions start getting really up there and I feel anxious or like overwhelmed, I just ground myself, and it allows me to, instead of react or like make a decision where I didn't think it through, I now can like stop, survey the land, assess the situation I'm in, and then continue to move forward.
100%. And I will say one thing I got to give you credit for as well is the entire routine game. I think this was like last fall, we were sitting, where we were in Venice, we were grabbing a beer.
Dude, no. I know it. I think, now tell me if I'm wrong. I didn't know when I was going to give you props. And I think this is it. Maybe was it fall? I want to give you props and then I'll let you carry on. There was a moment in February when I hit a wall real bad.
February, this is it.
And I think this is where we got to the beer, and then I'll let you carry on the conversation. But I wanted to give you props at some point in this episode, and now this is the moment. But there was a moment, to give people context, back in February where I've had these happen very rarely, but they've happened in the last couple of years. Maybe I can count on one hand, where just like a light switch, my mind starts saying these thoughts to my mind, and I start making these realizations, and I essentially hit a wall because I had like kind of woke up to the fact of like, yo, you've literally, and a lot of things have happened since I took the job with Liquid IV in October, but in February I started realizing like, wow, you literally punted dating and like trying to even like give relationships an ounce of try. Like I didn't put any energy into it. And so I remember one night, dude, I just like, it was weirdly it was around Valentine's Day, and that had nothing to do with why I had the breakdown, but it was weirdly the timing of it. But I just remember there was one night I just like literally was laying in my bed, and I just started bawling my fucking eyes out, and I couldn't control myself, and I just felt like shit. And I was just thinking about like, you're not like, you haven't really had something steady with a girl in a minute. Like what are you doing? All you're doing is putting all your time and effort into work. Like at the end of the day, what does that shit really matter? And being somebody that had gotten into content heavily, I saw it as a moment of like, I need to like document this moment. I need to be a voice in the world, because I know there's other people out there that are going through similar shit. And I don't want to be one of those people that just post the highlight reel. And so I posted this video for context for people. It's still on my Instagram if you want to go check it out. I own it. That's part of my life, right? And so back in February, I posted this video of just like exactly what was going through my mind. I got a lot of love on it. People were like sending me DMs, but you were one of the few people that actually went out of your way and was like, yo, we should like grab a beer like next week or whenever you're free. And it really meant a lot to me at the time, because although we had met in 2018 and, had showed love and like seen each other from time to time, like you went out of your way to say, yo, like I'm here to support you. And then we ended up grabbing a beer at Lincoln, and it meant a lot to me because it was a moment where you didn't have to do that. You could have just been one of those people that, said, hey, like I'm here to support you. But it meant a lot to me, and I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Appreciate it. Of course, man. I'm here for you, dog. And the crazy part about that week, and I'm remembering that now too, is I was feeling so many of the same things. And it's crazy, just in life, how quickly you can get wrapped up in the current moment, and you just you kind of lose track of the bigger things. You get so focused on these small details and these minute problems, which seem massive. And then you wake up one day and you look back and you go holy crap, where did all this time go? What's the point of all this? Where am I going? Literally just suffering. I know you've been working your ass off for years, driving Uber, pushing your dreams forward, and putting everything together,
Yeah.
And, it's just such a powerful thing. And it's really amazing to be able to share that with you, and just share that bond. Just we're both in that spot where we don't see each other all the time, but we're both hustling,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
They have that crew, and there's that certain unspoken trust and truth when you meet people like that. They're not responding on a certain weeknight or weekend night, and they're oh, I wonder what he's doing. He's oh, he's got stuff to do, This man's got stuff to do. I'm not gonna go bug him about it. I'm not gonna go feel bad. He's got stuff to do, and yeah, that was a really special moment. And for me too, I feel like I was getting kind of overwhelmed, a lot of change in the company, a lot of change in my life. And I remember we talked a lot about just routines, start in the morning, right. Getting your headspace together, and that's really stuck with me. And especially in quarantine, when the rest of your life kind of dissolves and all the structure is gone. I really held back and not held back. I really came back to that conversation we had about routines. That really helped me, get through those first couple of months. So without routines, without a way to start your day and get to win the morning,
Yes.
you don't do anything. You feel like you're just walking like a zombie in circles, and you're what day is it? What time is it?
You're waiting for life to give you that jump start, all right, I'm ready to wake up, which takes 2 hours, and then you're finally ready to get the juices flowing.
Dude, for sure. So how have that been for you? Have you been sticking to the same routine, or you been mixing it up, or what's been working on your end?
That's a good question. Morning routine wise, I've kind of I just before COVID, I was doing the same thing, and I'm still doing the same thing. The only adjustments I've had to make was not being able to go to a gym. So that was an adjustment I had to make, where I was then using YouTube videos, and I've been working out from home, and literally utilizing my kitchen as a gym. You saw the weights on the ground. There's 25 pounder. There's a 40 pounder.
Love it.
I'm using our one of our tables as a bench, where I'm doing chest workouts, back workouts, shoulder workouts. But other than that, I've been very fortunate, because it goes back to what we were just talking about. When things happen in my life, the meditation has taught me, and just other experiences where, okay, this is a pandemic. I'm not supposed to leave. I can't go to the gym. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it. How do I make the best of the situation? And so I just changed it all over. And so I wake up first thing. I do a 15-minute stretch. Then I do some type of body workout. And then after that, I'll go for a run. I'll come back. I'll shower. I'll meditate for 10 minutes. Allows me to set the intention for the day, and allows me to slow down after just going hard for an hour and a half of working out. And then I'll have breakfast, and then I'm ready to go for work. And then I'll just go head down, and I'll do that all day. And one thing that has allowed me to, since I'm working from home, kind of going back to what we started this podcast of talking about efficiency and not being in an environment, a office environment, which I really do miss. Some of the benefits that I've been able to do is utilizing my lunchtime to work on personal things now, which has allowed me to get back into writing, allowed me to work on some of this podcast stuff. So I can't really do that in an office environment. I could probably do it, but it's a little bit harder because you're there to work, right? And so then you have people that want to talk to you at lunch, and once again, I'm a people's person. I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. I want to shoot the shit. I want to hear about what you did last weekend or whatever it might be. But because I'm working from home and I'm living with the same two guys that I see every day of every hour, there's not as much to catch up on. So I'm okay, I eat. I still have some time on my lunch where I should step away from work. And work for Liquid IV is so much more different than creative for what I do now. So it's allowing that mind to shut off, where I'm looking at numbers, to then now create, be open-minded, And I think sometimes coming back from my lunch, I almost feel more refreshed to go back into it because I was able to step away and use a different part of my brain.
That's sweet, man. Good balance too,
Yeah.
you know? And I think like you hit a lot of cool points there. Just like you're structuring your own day, you know, you don't need to drive 30 minutes to the office, you know, you're not showing up at a certain time necessarily. I think it's so fascinating how different people work on different speeds, you know?
Dude, it is the most weirdly interesting thing that I love.
Yeah.
Because I think we are all uniquely different in what tools and tactics work for me, might not work for you, might not work for the next person. I weirdly get obsessed about it. Because I think everybody has their own certain ways of like making it work, and you kind of just have to find like what works best for you. I'm somebody that I've found where if my roommates joke and they say it's like Groundhog Day living with you, Bill Murray. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie where it's like he wakes up the same day every day. It's literally my life. But because I like structure my day so much, it doesn't allow me to skip on the workout or the writing at lunch because I discipline myself where it's like, okay, it's time to do that thing. You know, I'm spending less energy throughout the day debating, should I go for a workout or should I do this or should I do that? I know where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be doing during most hours of the day. So I think it helps efficiencies and it helps me actually like follow that routine.
Yeah. I mean, just for anyone listening too, like that's so key in quarantine. That's so key.
Definitely.
And I think back to our last conversation too, that's where I was struggling a lot was like, you know, when you're thinking about too many things, when you have to make too many decisions in one day, you waste all your mental energy deciding, am I going to work out or am I not going to work out?
Yes.
I would do that so many times. I'm like, am I going to do this? Am I going to go to the grocery store? It's like, no, like there's a time and a place.
Yes.
Put it on the calendar, open it up. When it's time, you do it. You finish it, you go to the next thing, you know, just done, next.
Yes.
And I think that's been a powerful change for me in the last year. Just really like doing things and not thinking about them for the things that need to be done. And you know you need to do them. Yeah. And I've always looked up to you for that because you have just insane discipline, to be honest. Like you're just a rock star.
You know what? A lot of it, and I appreciate that. I'll fucking take it all day, baby. I'll take it all day. I think a lot of that came from those Uber days because I had to make every hour count with driving Uber because every hour is out there. I could be making money to reinvest in my career, to reinvest in equipment, to pay off bills, whatever it might be. So I weirdly think, not weirdly, but like truthfully, some of the biggest positives from driving Uber along with a lot of different things was I learned to build structure in my day. Because before that, college, growing up in high school, even those summers, like I was nowhere near as anal about my time as I am now. Even my appreciation for other people's time, making sure that when you got here, I was ready to roll, that I'm like making sure that you understand that I appreciate you taking the time to come here because some people just don't actually respect, I think, others people's time for them to like, or like be aware of like what people are sacrificing for them to say yes to the thing you're asking them to do. Yeah. Like I know now that you don't live in Venice anymore, you're coming up from Huntington Beach. I know that's a drive. I know you have to come here, sit down, have a conversation, and then you have to drive back. And so it's like, I want to make sure that not only is this an experience and a great conversation for us and you enjoy yourself, but I also want it to be like, I want to be efficient. I want to make sure that I'm not like taking up somebody's time or wasting in like setting up the mics and trying to like get everything prepped like when you're sitting in front of me. You know, it's like little details like that I think go a long way.
You know, just based on your experience, you really learned that how valuable time is. You know, that's something I feel like as we get older, it just becomes more and more, it's harder and harder. Yeah. You know, like every second, like even when you like I've started cold emailing like really big like big guys in business. They'll respond like all lowercase letters, one line. Wow. You know, and it's just like, that's how much time this guy has for me right now. Wow. You know, and it's not disrespect, but it's like, I better think about what I'm saying and ask a really clear and concise question if that's even worth asking. You know, you don't want to like bug someone. Yeah. And it's just like, you know, even like our friends, everyone's doing stuff. And I as soon as I felt that pressure too, and there's a million things to do and not enough time. And that's when you really learn. It's like, wow, there's only so much time in my life, only so much time in my day. I got to say no a million more times than I say yes. When I do say yes, I got to be there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I think I've gotten really good at saying no. And that's something that I really believe in too. It's like, you have to like, if something doesn't excite you to say yes, you probably should say no.
Right.
And I've put myself into too many positions where I regret saying no. I regret on my way to the thing or while I'm doing the thing. And then I regret when I leave, and then I'm mad at myself because I wasted my time. And
right.
I'm pissed off for the next couple of days until it's like in the past. But you have to be willing to say no to a lot of things.
I think that's just, there's two ways to go and live your life. You're calling the shots, you're making choices for yourself, or you're getting pushed. You know, it's really simple. It's like, are you going to let others decide how you're going to live your life and spend your time? Or are you going to actively decide what this day is going to hold for me?
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people, for better or worse, it's what they like to do. They like to please others. They like to be around. They like to just, you know, not make decisions. They get pushed around, you know, and it just happens.
Yeah.
And then it's funny to me, like there's a distinct difference in your mind. And the people that make their own decisions, it happens. And people that don't make the decisions give you grief. You know, they're like, oh, what do you mean you can't come? You've missed the last 4 weekends in a row. It's like, yeah, exactly. I've said no 4 times in a row. Why are you giving me shit for this? Take the hint and walk away and go home, you know? Just like, I don't have time. It's not personal. It's just like, I am doing things I'm extremely passionate about, and I have a limited amount of time, so I'm going to use it to the best of my ability, you know?
Well, you just hit what I wanted to point out. How fortunate is it that we both, and I would say the majority of people that we mutually have friends with or that we surround ourselves with, we are passionate people. Not just passionate about living life, which I think we all are, both of, at least for me and you in this room, this conversation, but we're passionate about what we do, other hobbies, other things that like bring joy to us, so that because of that, we value our time so much more that I think it's, you know, when I think back to those moments where I wasn't as aware of my time and like being more cautious about it, it was also because I didn't really have an idea or direction of like, what was I doing?
Sure.
You know, so I almost wonder, is the awareness of time and how like more appreciative we are and how much more like guard we are with it, is it because we're so passionate and we have things on our to-do list and our bucket list? That's why, versus people that maybe just have no idea and are kind of floating through life, you know?
Yeah, I think it's a balance too, because I mean, I will say, like, if you don't float, you're never going to find your passion. You know, so I guess it's a give take. You know, if you're saying no to everything, you're not going to experience the thing you really love to do.
Yeah.
So I guess I would say, I would take back a couple steps. You know, college, great time to float, great time to figure stuff out. You know,
Let me tell you, the bearded man was the king of floating back then. I was fucking out there at sea. No paddle.
You know, as soon as real life starts, though, boom. It's like, you know, pick something and go after it with all your heart. And then if it changes, you know, and like one thing leads the next. And I really, truly believe, you know, if you're putting your all into it, new opportunities, new doors open. Just like for you, you're going hardcore podcasts and then boom, found a sweet gig, sweet job, which you really enjoy doing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just a stepping stone. So, podcast still going, cool job, great connections, ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have happened unless you were just so single-handedly focused, moving to a new city, you know, on this new path you were pursuing.
Totally. You know, you're from, what was the part of New York?
Rochester, New York.
I was about to say Dorchester, which is actually in Massachusetts. I'm like, don't do that. That's
one of the Chesters.
Yeah, one of the Chesters. You're from Rochester, New York. I'm from Western Mass. We're very close. We both made this major leap out here. You came out here for UCLA to play some badass college volleyball. I applied to UCLA and USC. They both shut my ass down. So, unfortunately, you guys didn't want me.
I'm not sure what I got to know about the volleyball. I'll be honest. I'll be honest.
Anyway, but you've been out here for a minute, dude.
Yeah.
Has there, like, I know you recently during COVID moved down to Huntington, which has probably been somewhat of a nice refresh. Are you still passionate about Southern California? Do you see yourself going back to the East Coast? Like, I'm curious to hear where your mindset is at.
Yeah, I'll flip it right back after. I'm curious to hear yours too, but I'm 10 years in
your decade?
LA. Yeah, It's my 10th
Wow.
fall.
Did they send you a medal or anything in the mail?
They should have.
They should, dude.
Damn,
10 years
come
in
on,
the game.
Mom, where are you at? No, like, yeah, I got, this month, 10 years ago, I flew out to California when I was 18 to start college here.
Wow.
And I haven't, when I was home this summer, it was the longest I'd been home since that moment,
Because every time you go back, I bet it was for what, like a week?
A week,
2
if
weeks?
that,
Summertime, even during college, was it, you still focused on volleyball?
A couple, for freshman summer, I came home and then I just did summer school straight through to get out in 4 years,
Wow.
So like I came home for Christmas. That was about it. And, I feel extremely blessed that my family is really supportive and they believe what I'm doing and they love seeing me like pursue my dreams and you go after stuff and they're not like pulling me back, but for me, dude, LA is just such a beautiful place, man. The people are incredible. The opportunities don't exist anywhere else. The energy, just the drive, and it for me, when I really moved here, fall of 2010, this whole like door and window opened up and I was like, whoa, like this whole other side of life exists, Growing up in a small town, it's fun, everyone's nice, very humble, but I was just so excited to meet people and see everyone and meet Hollywood stars and see professional athletes walking through, and there's something to be said too, just to be where, and like it's a cultural epicenter of the world, Things that start here just emanate and radiate through the entire planet. And everyone, you're like almost creating the future here.
100%.
Instead of following and digesting it 2 years later, it's like you can actually change the world here. CTW, baby.
CTW, I didn't want to say it, but Brandon Cohen heard that. He'll be fired up. He said that.
And at the same time, there's no way I could have started Tenzo in Rochester, New York. It wouldn't have worked. Just there's not enough early adopters there, and although they're catching on to the wave, it wouldn't have the legs. So, I mean, I love it here. I'm going to be here for a long time to come. Venice is my home. I got to get back up into Venice after I'm done in Huntington in a couple months. But, yeah, man, all about it. All about it. All about it. How about you? Yeah.
Yeah. First off, just going off what you said, and then I'll jump into that. I think no matter where you're from, and if you take that, the best thing about when I turned 18 and I took that leap to college, you went across the country. I went down the Mass Pike to Boston, which was an hour and a half away, but two different worlds. Sure. Like I grew up in Western Massachusetts, and then I was in the suburbs of Boston, and like, wow, man, what that was like to be like, get out of class, hop on the train, and I was in downtown Boston in 25 minutes. Like that was just like I was like walking around downtown Boston, like, dude, this is like my life now. So I think it's such an amazing ability, like amazing plus side when you can go to a different city than where you grew up for college, and it's just like the biggest like mind opening experience to do it. So I think that's incredible that you making that leap. But for me, wow, I feel like LA just keeps getting better and better. That first 2.5 years out here, I feel like was really good, but I feel like now that I'm in such a better position in my life with Liquid IV, my career, getting back into this podcasting game, working on other areas of my life, more balanced. Like I feel like I'm truly living in LA now. I've gone to the beach more in March and April. I'd go by myself because COVID, but you could get around the beach by yourself. I went to the beach more within like a 5-week span than I had done in 2.5 years of living in LA.
Wow.
And I loved the beach. I wanted to move to LA because I loved the idea of like sunshine year round, go to the beach. Also, wanted to try surfing since I moved to LA. Didn't even try it until literally 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, dude.
So
that's crazy. I
feel
how
like
fast time goes. You know,
it?
It's just wild.
It just flies.
That's insane.
So I think I've been in LA for 3 years this month right now, but I feel like I've truly been living in LA. Kind of the start of this year before COVID. Even like we started again after we went out in Venice. Roosterfish, and then we went to that rager in downtown LA. Like I was like, damn, I'm like starting to live like in LA. Right. So I for sure see myself here for quite some time. I love LA. I think it is this like amazing city full of opportunity. I just want to keep dabbling. I want to keep like trying new things, new experiences, meeting new people. I like just love everything about LA. So I think big picture, I have no idea how long I'm going to be here for. I don't want to like put, I'm going to be here for another 5 years. My mother hates when I say like,
she wants you home, huh?
She wants me home.
Yeah.
Like she wants me home. She made a joke yesterday with, I don't know if you saw the announcement, but Look What I Be getting the acquisition.
Oh my gosh, huge.
I call my mom to tell her. She's like, so does that mean that you could get a job at Unilever? They have an office in New Jersey. I was like, Mom, it's not happening.
Not going to
but
Jersey,
I appreciate
Mom.
the effort. So it was kind of
That's
funny.
cool. She loves you, dude.
Yeah,
that's
no,
cool.
that is really the only downside of living across the country is not being able to see family as often as somebody that lives down the road from them. So this is literally the only downside that I have.
Do you have any siblings?
One sister, and she's in Charleston, South Carolina.
So she's far too.
Yeah. She it's only like a 2.5 hour flight from Massachusetts to Charleston. For me, it's like 5.5 hours. I literally just before you got here, I booked my flight for Christmas, which is gonna be nice. But I wish I could go home a little bit more. But I also just like love being out here. This is where like you said, this is where the opportunities are.
Yeah, it's crazy too. I would never. Everyone loves where they grew up, but I really think where I grew up was a beautiful place. It was sheltered. It was enriching. There's a lot of great stuff happening. A lot of smart people. But for this stage of my life, my parents know there's nothing there for me.
Yeah.
So I think I've also never hinted coming back. I've always just been very straight up. Like, I'm probably never going to come back. Like, I'm probably never going to live in this house. It's hard to say, but like I always, you got to like kind of tell them that.
Yeah. You got to let them know. Like,
you got to cut to it sometimes.
Listen, I don't even think I had to tell my parents that, and they turned my bedroom into a guest bedroom.
Did
now,
they?
So,
oh my god.
Yeah, it's a legit guest bedroom. So I give them shit every time I'm home.
That's so funny. My mom has my bedroom the exact same. 10 years. Has
that's amazing.
all like my stuff on the wall, like trophies still on my dresser.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's so funny. She's like, whenever I come home, she's like, bed's made. It's always made for you.
Dude, parents are the same, bro. My parents are the exact same.
That's so cool. Wow. Yeah, it's crazy, man. And I think your point before too, just how important it is to get out of your bubble, whatever that is, And I have a lot of friends, and I meet a lot of people, and they just never left living in a 30-mile radius where they grew up. And for, just now that I know how big this world is and how many things there are to see and people to meet and different experiences to have, like to be a well-cultured, educated human, you gotta get out. You gotta get out of the nest, you know? So I think I want to kick my kids out of the nest someday,
Fucking
just
get out of
here. Wherever we grow up, like, you're going to other freaking coast or other side of the world, like get out of here,
Dude, when I moved out to California the same day, my sister moved to Charleston, so that was like literally the definition of empty nest syndrome. I felt so bad for the rents. They were in rough shape.
A lot. That's a lot.
Have you traveled a bit like outside the country? I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, in my life.
Yeah.
Did
you play volleyball overseas?
Yeah, I played volleyball a year in Italy professionally.
Dude,
that
must
was
have been so like eye opening.
Yeah, it was extremely special. Especially, I think one of the biggest things I've learned, and this is like a fun fact for you to take. If you ever have a friend that's from a different country, go visit them. That's what you got to do. There's nothing like traveling in a foreign city with a local.
Yeah.
It's uncomparable.
You're not dealing with, I feel like it's so overwhelming to travel to another city because you're just like, you're spending so much time trying to figure it out than actually enjoying the vacation.
For sure. You're a tourist. You're straight up tourist.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I saw in Italy too, because I was the only non-Italian speaker. I mean, I could understand a little bit by the time I left, but dude, I was so lost all the time, but I'm just following along.
Doesn't help that you're 7 feet tall.
Yeah, they never lost me. No, but they, and my roommate, one of my good buddies still, his name's Miguel, and he was from Portugal. He spoke a little bit of English, luckily, huge saving grace. But I spent 3 days in Lisbon with him and his family, and we saw everything. They know where to park, what food to eat, what lookouts to go to, what castles to see, where to do this, inside tour stadiums from his old football club, like all this stuff. And I was just blown away. And thinking about planning that trip's impossible.
Yeah.
So that's the way you want to do it. And it's cool to backpack, and backpacking's, I think, the closest you can really get to being a local without knowing someone, because you're going to meet a lot of people in hostels and travel. But yeah, dude, traveling is fun, and I feel like I got a lot out of my system, luckily, and so now I'm like kind of just stationary.
This was like during volleyball, right? So you were kind of getting paid to do it, right?
Yeah,
at the same time,
I was making some money, not a lot,
but enough to pay for the expenses.
They covered expenses and paid me a little bit,
Incredible.
So that was tight. That was super fun.
I don't know when it's going to be in my life, but I have something inside me where I need to like backpack a little bit, and like I don't want to just go to Europe for 10 days and go to like London and that's it, or like go to 2 cities. Like I want to go and embrace it. So I don't know when that's going to be in my life. I know that it's going to take a full commitment, and I'm going to have to step away from whatever I'm doing work-wise. But I just think there's got to be so much beauty. Like the one person that I was really intrigued with was Ryan Westberg. At the time, he was still with
He's
Serengeti.
Committed traveler, man. I mean, he does it,
dude. I think at the time when we recorded that pod in 2018, he was like 80 plus countries, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's tackled a couple more. But I just think like the perspective and like the understanding of the world that he must have is like so priceless. And like I know it's actually so difficult and such an investment to go out there and to travel the world, but there's even so much value in just traveling around wherever you live.
Sure.
Like even you just taking the quote unquote leap to go down to Huntington, which I know was a smart decision given COVID. It was getting you out of like a studio apartment, like giving you some like roommates, and probably gave you some sanity to like have people to live with.
Straight up.
Dan the man too, of course. I'm sure that was a plus. But I bet you that's even been like an interesting, like kept you on your toes. Like I'm in a new part of LA. Like this is all new to me, or even Orange County. Like I don't know. I just think
fresh,
Yeah,
it keeps
like
things moving.
Always trying to like just. And it's so hard right now, but like continuously hitting that refresh button, which like I think it just brings joy, and I think you just like start to move differently because you're just like in a different mind state.
And I think you hit a really hit a really good point too. Just like prioritizing stepping away. How, when, and why do you do it? That's what it really takes. And you can't see all of Europe in 10 days.
Yeah.
You can't see one city in Europe in 10 days. So it's like you think about even, I always love like the Phil Knight story where like the founder of Nike.
Great book, Shoe Dog.
Where he traveled the full world, ended up in Japan, found his passion, started Nike.
Yeah.
Like you just have no idea what's out there. You have no idea. And even like for me, like right now, I've done a bunch in Europe. I've been to Japan, been to New Zealand, a couple cool places, but I'm just looking like I haven't been to the Grand Canyon. I've never been to Zion. There's all these places driving distance that I've lived in LA for 10 years. I've never been there.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't see everything, but I do think, especially if you have good people to travel with, and it's definitely worth a send. You got to send it sometimes.
I'm very interested, since you are a co-founder in Tenzo, right? Like, so this is like your baby, right? Yeah. When I first started podcasting, Purpose in the Youth, that's a completely different business model, and like it's just two separate things, but still, like I'll never forget like those, like the feeling of having something that you just see before the world does, and then still just like continuing on with it. Like it's your baby, and you know that if you're not showing up, nobody else is there to do it. Similar to like this next podcast. Like I know like if I'm not producing the content, nobody's ever it's not gonna continue to grow, whatever. But so I'm curious, as somebody like myself now working for a company like Liquid IV, there's a lot of structure in it where there's normal business hours, and it's like when 6 o'clock comes, I don't feel bad about shutting my laptop because I know I have tomorrow, and I'll tackle that. The other tasks, the other rocks, as we call it at Liquid IV, of like the to-do list. How do you know when to step away? because as somebody who is a co-founder and just wants to see this thing grow and thrive, you know there's always more shit that you could be doing. So how do you balance and make sure, especially now where we're working from home and everything is all just one time? It's just this mass, like from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, it's all just one continuum, it almost feels like.
Right.
How do you make sure that like you're stepping away and like actually like breathing and like enjoying your life, passions and whatnot?
Yeah, wow. I think it's a hard question to answer, because I think the point you made is just, it doesn't move unless you move it. You know, you're literally pushing a big boulder up a hill, especially in the first couple of years. And it is a really cool feeling at this point, knowing that if I don't show up for a week, the company's going to keep moving forward, because we have people in place and we have a great team that it's going to keep push it, continue to push it, you know? And I think for me, it's just kind of been I have in my calendar, actually, right at this moment, I have this thing that says no work time from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Really?
I just put it in my calendar, and I don't do it every day. There's some days I'll need to do some stuff after 6 p.m. But generally, I've found I'm the best early in the morning. Before noon are my best working hours. And I know that just like I get the best, like the most thinking done, the most like real work. Mm-hmm. And I started realizing, like, am I filling time or am I being productive? You know, and then those things carry, and like the benefit of taking a break, getting a good night's sleep. You know, like there was a lot of years, 2019 specifically, where we were just so overwhelmed that like the one day would carry into the next day. And then you have this cyclical pattern of not being at your best, you know, and you're kind of like, you know, just getting stoned at nights and waking up in the morning, and you just like feel the same way. And it's just like carrying in this circle, you know? And so I've really found a lot of benefit of breaking, just having that core like break, like go for a walk, read a book, watch TV. And it's been powerful just, you know, to also have people to talk to so they can pull you away. Because when I was living with myself, it was just like, am I going to sit by myself and watch TV, or am I going to sit on my computer and do more work? Definitely. And I was like, I'm going to keep doing more work. And that's kind of where we talk too, is like, wow, like what am I doing? Like, where am I prioritizing my time? So a lot of long rambling answer. It's super powerful. I found, you know, put it away and stop working. And it's really counterintuitive, especially when you're first starting, but it takes a while to learn how much better you can be when you give yourself a break.
Yeah. Yeah, I think burnout is something that you have to, I hate to say it, it's kind of one of those things that you kind of have to experience it for yourself to really go, oh, I get it. You know, because it's like, man, those early stages when you're just like trying to get that idea off the ground, or you're just like getting your feet wet, like there's just so much to do and so much that you want to prove to yourself and to the world that like, you will just do those 16, 18-hour days, and it will just like fly by because you're just so in it. But like you're saying now, where it's like you feel confident enough where things have happened and systems are in place where you could step away for a week and the company's still going to continue to run. That's incredible. But there's also those times where it's like, I'm sure you had those burnouts and you had to go through them to have these realizations of like, actually me putting down the laptop and not working and spending the weekend away out in the forest, like it's allowing me to come back to the work more energized, actually more focused, more motivated, more inspired, more time to like, some of my best ideas are not even when I'm sitting down, like thinking or trying to brew the idea.
That's
it pops when I'm like fucking showering. I'm like, okay, now I gotta write this down, or I'm out running. Right. I could be at the grocery store. I could be lounging and consuming content, watching a YouTube video. I'm like, light bulb. I wasn't even intentionally thinking about it. And now I'm like, there's the next best idea.
Yeah, I think that's key. And I found too, like Henry Ford in his biography had a really good distinction between types of workers. He wrote this, autobiography. It was really good. Actually, you should check it out. I haven't read it yet. But he defines the knowledge worker versus the manual worker. You know, the knowledge worker shows up, they do a task, they do it really well, they have set time, set budget, set hours, they're in, they're out. Knowledge worker is a much harder employee to manage and to be, because it's not as defined. You're creating something that doesn't exist per se. You know, you have this kind of it's very much on you in that sense. There's certain times where you need blocks of time to just like really work hard and like, but think, you know, a lot of the thought that goes into the work comes in a lot of ways, and you have to be able to distance yourself from the work and to be able to put together those connections and figure out the solutions you got to figure out, you know, and that's the same thing where like, if you try to make a knowledge worker work for 18 hours a day, they're going to burn out. It's going to be unproductive. It's not possible, because the things you need to be successful in that type of role, you need space and you need your own kind of like way of operating. And, you know, I don't know if that made any sense, but it's for me too, like I feel like I've done less manual work in the last year, you know, and that's been a really powerful thing. I feel like I've had a much greater impact in the company by just doing less, but being more of a thought leader for the company. You know, I'm not sure if that kind of resonates in your end too.
Definitely. Have you ever read the book? Are you a fan of Ryan Holiday?
Yeah.
Stillness is the key.
I have read that one,
bro.
Man.
I swear that is once again, it goes back to the meditating, but like stillness is so fucking beautiful. Even before you got here today for the podcast, I sat in this chair for probably 15, 20 minutes.
Nice.
Didn't look at my phone. Just like, it was like, it's beautiful because the sun comes up from this part of the house, which is where my desk is. So I get the morning sun, which I love light. And then it sets on the other side going towards the beach. And so, you know, right around 6:30, 6:45, I was having you come here for 7. I could see like the orange, like the orange in the trees and like the split. And so I'm just sitting there just like soaking it in. But that stillness of just like not thinking and not doing, not moving, not checking my phone, just like what a reset.
There was one, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was William Churchill in that book, Stillness is the Key, talked about he started laying bricks. He would literally build houses in his spare time just for fun. You know, who was that?
I don't know if you know, it's weird. I think I literally was just talking to Reese Hopper. I don't know if you ever met him. He was I had him on the podcast last night.
Nice.
He brought up Winston Churchill, but he was saying he painted. So
maybe it was a painter.
It was painter. All right, that's weird. Back-to-back pods.
Dude,
and you guys are talking about this
freaking guy, you know, but that's what it takes, is just something you can mindlessly do, because that's where like a lot of those, you kind of unlock your brain, you know. You're not forcing it to go in a direction. You're not demanding an answer. It's like
you're just going where the pen's taking you. And
that's what it takes to like solve the world's biggest problems. It's just like not forcing that shit and letting it come.
Speaking of solving world's problems, it just reminded me. I loved that back in March through Tenzo, you guys did a day where for every like on the Instagram post you guys had put up, 100% of profits were supported to food banks, and you donated one meal for every like, and it ended up being over 26,000 likes, which I thought was incredible.
Insane. It was insane.
Like, what was the conversations like behind the scenes leading up to that? Like, why do something like that?
Yeah, that was a super special moment, and this was, you know, right as COVID's really starting to take its toll on the country, and I was kind of feeling a general like empathy, and so was our team, of just like everyone wanted to help but didn't know how. You know, it was like the entire world's struggling. We're seeing there's going to be massive consequences in the coming months, especially with all the loss of job and the uncertainty in your next meal for so many families around the world and in our own city. And it was like, how can we rally everyone together to, you know, help, you know? And so everyone could, and we were thinking, there's a way you can just donate, but like, why not involve everyone? Why not involve everyone and get them to share a powerful message and just literally double tap donate a meal? It's like, boom, super easy. It's super easy. And I think it felt really good, and the response was incredible. And we didn't spend $1 in marketing. We reached over like 1 million people.
Wow.
You know, like that type of thing. It's crazy.
Wow.
You know, just in terms of just people sharing on their stories and posting about it. And at the same time, we just donated 100% of profits for that whole week to Feeding America.
Wow.
And it was cool, man. It was one of the real times where we felt like, as a company, we're like, wow, we had that platform to make a difference, and we executed as a team, and we knocked out of the park. So that was like a really fun one for us.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think in moments like that, I've found in the last couple of months where certain things are happening in the world and I'm like frozen and I don't know what to say and I don't know what to do. But I feel like there's this thing inside me saying like, you need to speak up or you need to do something. And I don't know what to do because there's all these ideas and thoughts.
2020, man. That's just like such a theme. Yeah.
I know. Literally, I think we all thought this was going to be the greatest years of our life. Like 2020, like what a number.
That's
like
what I'm saying, man. This was
supposed to be the shit, bro. Me and you were kicking off February. We were like ready to go to town.
Go.
March was rolling in. Like things were rocking. Crazy, man. Crazy.
Yeah, that's just been the craziest part is everyone's so uncertain right now. It's just such a lack of security and, just like true north. It's really tough. So I feel like people that do have a platform to speak in that direction, like provide some sense of security for people. It's powerful, and it's where you see the leaders. I wish we had a better leader in our country right now that could really step up and, just bring people together. Because that's what everyone needs. We don't need more division. We need just like
unity.
And we need a shoulder to lean on, and like everyone's just feeling it, it's wild.
I know. I think at the end of the day, we sometimes can be our own biggest critic and we're like thinking we're not doing enough. But sometimes we just have to realize that it's not one person's responsibility to change the world. And I'm not defending, say, president.
Sure.
But in general speaking, it's not one person's responsibility to change the world. We all have to play our role and change it a little. And so, something like what you guys do with Tenzo is massively incredible. You guys are impacting thousands of lives. Like not something that on a small scale the average Joe could do, but that average Joe could donate. Maybe did that double tap on the photo or donated $10 to a local charity or there's so many ways that we on a small scale they could all
just be there for someone. I think that was a cool thing too, especially I'm not sure if you felt the same way, but I think you actually told me this. You were just FaceTiming everyone.
I called you one time.
Yeah, we were talking. Yeah, that was great.
Dude, yes.
And just like, just as soon as everything kind of stopped, it was like, who really matters to me? Like, who have I not talked to? Who needs a friendly hello?
Yeah.
I think if everyone just does that more, the world's a better place in itself. Just being there for each other and, really reaching outside your normal, just like day to day, just habitual robotic life. And like, you know what? I haven't talked to this homie from high school in like 10 years. Wonder what he's doing,
I know. That's something I challenge myself to do at least once a week, a couple weeks ago. And of course I haven't fucking stepped up and done it, but just to do that, like one 30-minute call a week. Like, there's so many hours in the week. Like I can give up a half hour, maybe it goes an hour, maybe even goes an hour and a half. I can give up that time, but it's so easy to just get into the rhythm of like, even honestly, I've enjoyed weirdly some of the downtime to like not get distracted. Like I'm not work. Like, okay, this could be like after work on a Friday. Like I have the weekend to myself. And that's when I've started getting into like surfing and like throwing myself out there in like the dating world, going on a few dates, like just like trying to like give it a taste,
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
As soon as I think the coolest part about like this earth we're on and the life we live is as soon as you put out the vibrations and align yourself in that direction. People talk about manifesting. I just think more about doing. I think there's a balance there, and I'm not a big like, oh, let's just think about this. I'm like, if I want to freaking meet someone special, I got to get out there and meet someone special.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it goes. And I think, I'm a huge believer in just like the vibrations you put out are what you get back.
I agree.
And if you're looking for something, a change in your life, be the change. Do it. Start it tomorrow, and just like one small baby step.
Completely agree. I think the manifestation though is important because you need to like, it's almost like you're mentally reminding yourself all the time of like, I want to become this person. I want to accomplish X. I want to do this in my life. So I think it's a balance. I don't think necessarily you just like sit in a room all day and think about it and then go to sleep and like not make any action. So I agree.
Sure.
I think it's very easy to get caught up in like, great example. It's easy to get caught up in just thinking about it and like trying to manifest it. But the other problem is if you are out there and just doing, and you're not stopping and like assessing the direction you've been going, then you're in trouble because you just went 60 miles in the opposite direction. You know, it's like planes when they're flying. If they're off just a half a degree and it's put on autopilot mode, they're going to end off hundreds of miles off course in the next 4 hours
part of the world.
Because they weren't continuously assessing that direction. So
that's a great analogy.
Agree, but I think it's a little bit of a balance between the both.
My senior quote from high school was Dave Matthews Band, shout out.
Ooh.
Change the world, start with one step, however small. The first step is hardest of all.
Whoa.
I love that one.
Damn.
That's what it takes, you know? It's just like doing, man. But I think with your point, you have to be extremely like cognizant of the direction you want to go.
Yeah.
And it's back to our first point. You can't get pushed, you know? It's like active decision making.
Mm-hmm.
Decide your path and then freaking hit it. Do it, you know?
Hit it, baby.
Hit it straight up.
My senior quote, because I want to share now that you shared yours, was pain is temporary.
Yes.
Pride is permanent.
Boom. Yeah. That's powerful, man.
It was said by one of my favorite teachers, Ann Hennessy, in high school. She impacted my life tremendously. And
fantastic.
She always would say that pain is temporary, pride is permanent.
Love that.
Yeah. Some
cool,
big
man.
heat. Some big heat. Couple more things and we'll get out of here. We've been talking about life a lot. We've been talking about like work, life, balance, dating, or whatever. Is there any certain area of your life that you're trying to put more effort and energy into?
Yeah, I think this is kind of the transition, I guess, from 2018 to in the last podcast. It's like, you know, and the same thing we talked about when we met up in February. It's just like continuing to build relationships, you know, and I really do enjoy spending time with people, you know, and experiencing things with people. And I felt like for a couple of years, I was pretty darn head down focused. I don't think, you know, probably either of us would have gone to where we are without doing that.
100%.
You know, but there's a time and a place for that. And I think now I'm 28, you know, 30 is around the corner, which is crazy to think about. But, you know, really building a life that I can look back and love, you know, and doing the things that make me happy on a day-to-day basis, like hiking, getting outdoors, playing favorite sports, you know, dinner parties with some of my favorite friends. And, you know, those are the moments when I think I look back, I'm going to remember. I'm not going to remember that late night bender of fucking Tenzo work in a small, tiny apartment, you know?
Yeah.
That'll be like the freaking, it won't even be in my brain. It'll be gone. But I will remember that moment, that fun time, that laugh, that way you make someone feel, the way someone made you feel, you know? Those are, I'm realizing those are profound pieces and moments. You got to really, you know, take them what they are.
I think it's a full 360 though, because even as much as in this moment you might think that, you know, those late night bender of nights, you might not be the most profound or the most exciting, but I think it's helped you who you are.
Sure.
Like when you're saying that, I'm thinking about that classic like picture of Jeff Bezos in like the mid 1990s with Amazon on a fucking like spray painted on a piece of plywood.
That is an awesome,
I just think of like that picture and like
story.
Like how what it takes to build something so incredible. And so it might not be the most glitz and glamorous memory of that work of bender nights or like those long hours or whatever, but it built you as an entrepreneur.
I'm pretty sure it was like Ben Horowitz said, to build $100 million company, you got to endure $100 million of pain.
Yeah, you got to know what you're signing up for
That's
that.
real, you know, and you don't see the iceberg of those nights, you know, and all you see is like the glory part. But
I'm sure there's going to be some aspiring entrepreneurs or some people that listen to this podcast that are in the early stages of that pursuit. What's like 3 tools that they should have in their tool belt at all times? Young aspiring entrepreneurs, whether it's mindset, whether it's lessons you've learned, or
I just think, you know, I might get lost and I'm rambling 3 here, but I think to your point about the plane and the analogy of getting lost, you have to be constantly reassessing your direction. Remove your ego and be willing and ready to learn. You know, the best thing you can possibly do is wake up every morning and think, I know nothing, especially when you're getting going. You know, just it's so easy to kill yourself and kill your startup from thinking you know the right thing, what's actually the wrong thing. And that might sound simple. It's like, oh, I'm a smart guy. Like, I get this. It's like, no, like some of those early decisions catch up with you later.
Definitely.
You know, so I would just say, for one, if you start, don't stop. Never stop improving, and never give up, you know? Just freaking make it happen.
Get after it.
Get after it.
How
would you answer that first question you asked me, you know?
Which one?
Things are changing, life priorities.
Like what's changing in my life?
Yeah.
Or what am I putting more effort into?
That was it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. What area of my life am I putting more effort
Exactly.
into? Gotcha. That's a good little flip back to me, Robbie. Easy. So there's three that I'm like putting in priority. One is getting back into this podcast game.
Love you're doing it, man. You're so natural on the mic.
You, brother. I appreciate that.
I love that.
I get fulfillment from this.
Sweet.
And I love people too. So I love like having an excuse to like connect with people like you and document this conversation and know that it's like going to be put out there to the world and somebody's going to hear it and it's going to hit us up like, yo, this was fucking sick, or like I learned this. I don't know.
Dude.
I just love this. This is like my fulfillment.
Sweet, man.
Second thing would be trying to find ways to weekly try something new.
Love that.
Like a new passion or a new hobby. Like
You're exploring.
Try to explore more. I've got a lot of fulfillment from trying surfing. Now I got a board. I'm trying to get into that more.
Yeah, tell me about this right after. Western mascot hitting the waves in the West Coast,
bro.
dude.
And I'm not gonna lie, it was a girl that I had gone on a date with a couple weeks back. We went on a couple dates, and she had told me, she's like, yeah, I'm like, I got my, she's from, so she was raised out here. She's from Argentina originally, but she was like, yeah, I'm taking a surf lesson in a couple weeks, like by myself, and I'm excited. And I was just like, in my mind, I was like, wait a second, I've always wanted to surf, and this girl's out here just doing it solo though. Like, why do I keep fucking waiting?
Why not me? What
am I doing? So the next day was a Saturday. I Googled it, inspired by this girl.
Sick.
Looked up a lesson, booked the appointment for the next day in Santa Monica.
Boom.
$130 for an hour and 45 minutes with a personal instructor, board, wetsuit included. Went out for an hour and 45, got hooked. Following weekend, went out, bought a board.
Hell yeah.
I said, the only way I'm going to stay committed to this is if I buy it up front, buy the board, buy the wetsuit.
Yep.
Now I have no other reason to not go because I have everything I need. So that's been incredible. I've enjoyed it. It is a hell of a workout.
Oh, yeah.
I love the beach, so it gives me an excuse to go to the beach. You know who I met that actually is a mutual friend of us that I met surfing now is Ani. I want to pronounce his last name. He's from India. Black hair.
Yeah,
He plays
yeah.
I think he just went on the trip with you guys this weekend.
Ani Root. Yeah.
Yes.
Good guy, man.
So I met him through surfing. So
good guy.
So incredible. So that's how I got into the surfing. So 3 areas: podcasting, getting back into it, trying to continuously every weekend try a new passion, new experience, meet new people, and then thirdly is dating. Like just like
tight.
Send Hail Marys. Like you got it. Like you're gonna get shut down a lot.
Dude,
and just, like,
I will say, man, like to your point, I was like 2020. This is the year I'm gonna get a girlfriend. I haven't had a girlfriend in a number of years, and I was just like, how are you thinking about the isolation and quarantine? Like for me, it was like, all right, I'm taking like pause life for a year. I'll come back to it in a year. Mm-hmm. How are you kind of pushing through that or thinking about that or still meeting people?
Yeah, that's good. So March and April were like, there was no chance of meeting people. We were like
people you know.
It's just like there was like
pipelines
nothing
there or it's dried up.
Bro, there was no pipeline there. It's just in
I
general,
had no
like, bro, the whole thing was just shut down because we didn't like the pandemic was like in its early rollout and people were going nuts at the grocery store. May kind of came. LA starting to loosen up a little bit. And so if we're talking just like in general quarantine and like trying to like not put my life on pause, like I've tried, that's the whole thing. March, April, May, and not until June. Those 3 months, I was just like, I bought an Xbox, got into Xbox again for a couple of weeks. I had my parents send on my golf clubs, was getting into golf for a couple of weeks. I was just like trying to find these, like restart that fire inside me. Like when I'm not working, what am I doing? And so it really hasn't been until like end of June, like July and now that I'm finding that rhythm where like, yes, the world is put on pause and there's a lot of things I can't do. Can't go to a music festival. Extremely hard when you're trying to date. Can't really meet other women because it's just like so weird right now. And like dating apps, I'm still just like trying to trust it'll fucking work out. And it's just like the biggest, like, I just swipe around for like 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, this is a waste of my time. But I'm like, I'm trying to be optimistic.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be optimistic. So, like, I'm just trying to, once again, like I started earlier in this podcast, this is the environment we're in right now. I'm not going to allow myself to just like shut my life down. I think it's been very helpful because I'm not spending money on dumb shit anymore.
For sure.
So financially, I've made some better decisions. But other than that, I'm just trying to live my life and work on the areas that I'm working on given the circumstances of the world. And it hasn't been easy.
That's the way you got to do it.
Trying to like make it work.
I respect that a lot. That's a huge thing to do, and it's so easy just when things get crazy to say, you know what?
Yeah.
Put that on the shelf. We'll save that for a later day, you know. And I feel like I've been kind of back and forth. It's super funny, like finding different. There's still like some social distancing events.
Definitely.
You know, and I feel like meeting. I've always wanted to meet someone too, like in real life, you know, IRL,
I'm
baby.
the same, yeah.
You know?
I'm the same way, bro.
That's why it's hard. I pulled up the dating apps again for a month or two, and I did the scrolling thing, and I'm just like, you know, I don't know.
I
like,
know.
doesn't it? Maybe, but I don't feel that this is my way, you know.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's kind of where I've been at. Just like, really, just if I hear a dinner party or someone that's doing a small event, like. Go.
Exactly.
Just send it.
Exactly.
There's no more like I'm not busy anymore. I know I've nothing
this is an
else.
opportunity
You know,
where
this
I
is
might
like
meet the one. I gotta fucking do it.
I gotta be there. You know,
Yeah.
you gotta show up. And I think just putting that energy out, I feel like you'll find it, man. It's coming.
Oh, I know it's coming, and I know it's coming for you too. But I will say that I feel you on like maybe this is the year I find a girlfriend, because I think what that allows is not, because sometimes this whole dating game, it takes time and energy. And as anal as both, I would imagine you are too, of like with our time and our energy, I don't want to waste it like,
dude, yeah.
and something's just like not working, or it's just like.
That's where I'm at too. And it's just like, do I really want, like, it's so hard for me to prioritize and invest time in someone.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where it's hard for me to go onto apps and things like that, where it's like, I literally have no connection with this person at all.
Yeah.
So I don't have a mutual friend. I don't have
feel them
anything.
out.
I have to, you know, just do a full like test run.
I know.
It's like I don't have time for that. So
I know.
then you pull out. And you're like, I could do something else instead.
Yeah.
But you know, it's worth it. You got to meet people. You got to do your thing. And I think too, it's as soon as I really look to my friends and their opinion on people. That matters a lot to me.
Yeah.
So I think someone I'm going to meet someday is just going to be like a second or third degree connection of the crew, you know, of the homies, and that's going to just pop in my life. I'm like, oh, cool.
That's the way you want
Sick,
it to be.
you know,
It's so
like,
much more fluid. It's so much more
tight.
easier.
Yeah.
It's a much more easier integration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel you on that. It's a work in progress, baby. We're gonna get through this.
2020 is quite the year. Everything's flipped upside down.
I know, man. I'm trying my best to just make the best of it and come out of it a better person than I went in. Before we get out of this, for the end of this podcast, what I've been doing is I allow the guests to put a challenge out to the listeners. It's not, it's not anything related to you being an entrepreneur or just in general, but like, what is something that somebody could do after listening to this podcast that would help them in some way? And it could be like challenging them to read a book, go listen to a podcast, try something new. Like, what's one challenge, one step that somebody could take after this podcast that would be beneficial to them?
You know, I'll say, ooh, this is on the spot, man. This
100%, dude. I'll buy you a couple
beneficial.
seconds.
Yeah, I really like the point we talked about before about getting in contact with somebody you haven't talked to in a long time. I would say my challenge for you would be look through that Rolodex, think about a friend you haven't talked to in more than 5 years.
Ooh.
More than 5 years, someone that meant a lot to you in your life that you've drifted apart from. Pick up the phone, say hello. You probably should text them first. It's been a while.
I should have got the same number.
Yeah. It's like, who is this? Wait, who are you? You know, that'd be weird.
Yeah.
No, I think that'd be a really powerful thing for both you and the other person to reconnect.
I love that. The reason I do these challenges, and it just started recently, of course, because this is a new podcast, is sometimes we don't know the step to take because there's so many things and ideas that are brewing through our mind of what we need to do. But I think having a guest like narrow that down to like, this is the one actionable thing you can do after this podcast. I hope people enjoy these podcasts. I hope they learn. I hope they're entertained. I hope they laugh. Maybe one day we'll cry on the podcast. I hope they're enjoying the roller coaster of the ride. But I also want them, when they're getting off the ride, like, here's your ticket. This is what you need to go do next. And like something that's going to put them in the right direction. So I love that. That's cool. really good. Where can people find you on social media? Is it just at Robbie Page?
Yeah, at Robbie_Page on Instagram and Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn.
Great.
They'll know where to find you. You'll find me.
If you guys and gals listen to this podcast, make sure you screenshot it, post it to your Instagram story, tag Robbie on the IG post, Robbie_Page, and tag me at Bob B-O 3 B's 4 A's and a Y. It is very important that you do this because this is how we grow this podcast from the ground up. But I must say, Robbie, absolute pleasure having you come on the show today.
I knew it would be, man. It's always good to get back. And how cool is it? 2 years ago.
2 years ago, man.
Purpose and Youth podcast. Yeah. 2 years better friends, 2 years further in life, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this thing goes, man.
You know what they say, third time's a charm, so when that happens, it's going to be even better.
2-year reunion, 6-year reunion. Sheesh. That'll be good, man.
I like that. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, dude. You're the best.
Awesome. We'll talk to you guys soon enough.
See ya.